Could you imagine Vince McMahon like putting in a caller like, "Hi, I'd like to order one ambulance, please."
Yeah, we're gonna flip it.
Yeah. No, he wouldn't tell them. It's like, well, you need to how you if you break it, you buy it. And he's like, "Oh, I won't break it."
Well, it would be funny if they just, like, the old hardcore belt just had... Actually, we're kind of podcasting this, so let's just wait. But yeah, they just had their own, like, ambulance and just kept getting beat up over the years, but...
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We get to talk more about this. I'm very excited to talk about more about this today, right now, because it's Friday, April 14th, 2017, and you are listening to On the Heels Wrestling Podcast. I'm Ray.
I am Kyle.
And I'm Brittany.
Every Friday... Oh, hold on. First things first. Happy Fate of the Furious Day.
Oh my God, yes. That's
Later
right.
today, we will be seeing Fate of the Furious, and we are very excited about that.
Like, it is quite possibly going to be the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah, so homage to The Rock. We're super stoked.
We're all about family here, so this is the greatest family movie of all time.
That's right.
Yep.
We don't have friends, we only have family.
True.
It makes the weddings really tough to book. Picking tables is a pain in the butt. But, episode 60 today, and every Friday at noon, we, a bunch of pals who used to work together,
Oh, shit.
will give you consistent, bite-sized commentary on WWE's ever-expanding, potentially shooken-up lineup of programming.
Shake it.
Shook
Shook
the
it.
corn. As well as talk about all the other cool stuff happening with World of Wrestling.
Sometimes we recap, sometimes we conversate and debate in our roundtable discussions. Sometimes we interview wrestlers from right here in Seattle, Washington. Yeah. Although I should start saying like right here in Seattle, friggin' Washington. Because we were doing the McFoley thing and now we got to do the Kurt Angle. Anyway, this week, speaking of which, we're going to recap the Superstar Shakeup that happened this week with WWE.
It's true. It's
damn true.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So, like, usually when they have a draft, like, initially...
Don't say usually. This is a scripted show. There is no, like bar that they're trying to set. Well, it's like the last time they did a draft.
Yeah, I guess, the last time they did a draft, it was a little bit more like you see in a sports draft. Like, you know, people at a podium, going back and forth, and making picks. Yeah. This was more of a, like, they already made their picks, and we're just getting the shock factor.
Would you call it a shakeup?
I would call it a shakeup.
Yeah, you shake up and you shake it off.
Mr. Marketing, would you call it a superstar shakeup?
I feel like I like this way better.
Me too.
There's continuous, like, surprise and delight, or just constant surprisal, right? It was amazing. I mean, especially the part where... it wasn't just like, okay, at the end of Raw, you knew exactly who was staying on Raw.
Yeah.
Like, there was weird circumstances where in some cases it was clear, in other cases it wasn't clear what the result of a match or situation or whatever it could be, right? Yeah. And that was really awesome.
And then there's the whole pay-per-view thing, because they've got Payback coming up in 2 weeks, and with, you know, both Kevin Owens and Jericho, for instance, doing their rematch for the U.S. title, it's like, well, Kevin Owens is on Raw, so maybe that's what's happening here. And then, you know, the next night on SmackDown totally throws into question, like, the U.S. title could switch rosters. Like, this is actually really cool. Yeah. So it not only makes both that episode of Raw and that episode of SmackDown mandatory to watch, but it also puts more emphasis on the next pay-per-view. Yeah. When, from what I recall, like, the Payback after WrestleMania is always kind of a lame pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, there's also Bray versus Randy, which is weird because they're both from SmackDown, and this is supposed to be a Raw pay-per-view. Well,
I think Bray's on Raw.
SmackDown, but you know, Randy's
on Raw.
Yeah,
Randy's on SmackDown.
Yeah. Sorry.
See, it was so shooken up we can't keep track.
Yeah,
so I kind of think of it like they used to like sometimes shows have crossover episodes.
Yeah,
and it was kind of like that, right? Like it was like, oh, we get our private practice in Grey's Anatomy together.
Great reference. Great reference.
But yeah, so that beginning.
Shonda.
Yeah. That beginning, that open with
oh my God,
with the 16-time champ John Cena and his lovely fiance, but wait.
Yeah, so that was the best part, because like there was a kid in the crowd who was doing the "you can't see me" thing, and he clearly didn't know it was the Miz yet.
He couldn't see that it wasn't John
Cena. He couldn't see that it wasn't John Cena. But that was like the most ridiculous part, because if you're not watching SmackDown, you don't necessarily know what's happening. Like I got legit excited that Cena was on Raw.
Yeah.
And then it was Miz, and then I was like actually a little heartbroken.
Yeah, a little, but also just excited that Miz is going on Raw for him.
Right, that it's like it's good for him. He's definitely like if Raw is the premier brand, he's definitely earned it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That he's been having a great year, everything's been, up and up for The Miz. So for him to pop on Raw, it's actually pretty great.
Ambrose.
Yeah.
Here's what I have to say. It was cool and it was funny. Ambrose did his normal thing, but he'll only get like a small breath of not that fresh hair by just moving to a different audience and doing the same thing, right?
Right. Yeah. He's kind of like the silly drunk uncle, but I mean, so here's the thing. I was not excited when I saw Ambrose walk out, but I was excited when he started doing the promo, thinking that Miz and Maurice were John and Nikki.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good because Dean Ambrose is really good about talking shit to people to their face.
Yes.
That's part of the reason I really liked him in The Shield. So that kind of leads into the next exciting point with Raw is that now all 3 members of The Shield are back on the same roster.
Yeah.
This, I feel like, has got to be like the last straw thing that they want to pull to try to get Roman over. They're like, well, fuck it. If we just make the Shield again, they're all good guys now. Maybe that'll work.
Well, I mean, they are all faces, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Rollins definitely hammed it up as much as he ever has in his segment, I felt, as a baby face. And he did fine.
His promo was a little two-face.
It was a little too, well.
Not like TWO,
overly faced.
but TOO.
It was a little overly faced, but also I felt like he did okay with it.
Yeah, and it's almost kind of necessary after everything. Like, he really had to ham it up just a little bit, given all the bullshit he pulled over the last couple of years. I don't know.
But that's how it goes with wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes there's just storylines where you're like, it's like this now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that's there. Just the constant, anytime you'd see Angle on screen or any of or Daniel Bryan the next night, just wondering what was going to happen. It was cool when they found ways to have the moments come up in the story. I felt a little bad for the people who just got their faces shown and just rolling credit style.
Announced on WWE.com.
Yeah.
Sin Cara.
And it was just kind of
because
weird.
Actually, specifically Apollo Cruz's one, I noticed because it felt very much like they're treating it just like Raw After Mania last year. And we got this cool young guy who could do flips and stuff. It's your last year. Sorry, you kind of, fell out of people's minds.
I mean, he the problem with Apollo Crews is not necessarily he fell out of people's minds. It's that he wasn't really given a good push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows if that's on him or on the writing team or a combination of all of that, right?
Yeah. Now you have a new writing team.
Right, it's okay, well, SmackDown wasn't working for you, let's try it on Raw. So this is actually really nice from the superstar perspective, because if they were in a weird situation, they're now in a fresh state. And I think the person who's going to benefit from this most is Dolph Ziggler.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm totally jumping around, right? So
that's okay.
Dolph Ziggler comes out, he's doing his whole blah, 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 you're stuck with me, ha ha ha. And then Nakamura's music hits, which I am legitimately excited about because Nakamura's kicks are devastating and Ziggler is the best person on either roster to sell.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Better than Sami Zayn.
Yes, because Sami Zayn, it's so they sell in different ways.
Yeah.
They sell in different ways because Sami Zayn sells in the emotional storytelling way.
Right.
Ziggler sells in the over-the-top 80s way.
Yeah, I'm dead now.
You kicked me and then you do the Shawn Michaels flip over Hogan
match
thing, right?
That move hurt me as opposed to this match hurt me.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, skipped ahead a little bit.
No, that's cool.
No, it's worth bringing up.
It's just lots of exciting, cool stuff. Any final sort of comments on that open for Raw, Ray?
No, not really. I mean, it's cool that we get the whole KO versus Dean Ambrose thing. That's okay, champion versus champion. It's the mid card title. Okay, sure, why not? It's it's nothing to get too excited about. Big question was what was going to happen with KO. So we'll get
which one of those
later.
belts is going back, right?
Yeah. I do want to get into Finn Balor coming back.
Okay.
So first of all, he looks fucking awesome.
I'm just sitting on my couch. And I'm that is a gorgeous fucking man. He looks amazing.
Yeah.
Dude's in shape.
He's got
shape. Abs for days.
Yeah. And then he has his match, has a great match, and it's awesome, and it's totally just a basic Finn Balor match, which is
It was against Jinder Mahal, right?
Yeah, Jinder was on both shows.
Like, fucking roided out Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
He looks awesome.
Yeah,
and
he's the most, like, jacked up jobber I've ever seen.
Okay, so you say jobber, and I'm going to actually disagree with you on that one. I think Jinder Mahal is the new Heath Slater.
Oh, absolutely. And what was Heath Slater before?
Right, but we're at that transition point where he's like comfortably middle of the mid card.
He's gonna be like the lovable loser.
They don't cut his entrance out of the cut.
Yeah,
he's feuding with the top guys on the roster, but you always know he's Sami Zayn.
Yeah, I'm not saying jobber in a bad way. I'm saying
the look that Kyle has just now.
I'm just saying
well, I mean, I've always been sad for Sami Zayn.
Me too.
Yeah, I hope he gets I hope they just go right into him versus KO on SmackDown. That elevates him.
Yeah, I think it's
sorry. You were saying about the Jinder thing. We just kind of off on a tangent.
No, the Jinder thing. I just think he is legit fodder. Like he looks like a big scary guy, and it makes the other guy that he's putting over that much better.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. That's not like I'm not knocking Jinder.
Know your role.
Yeah, it's just more of a like the jobber kind of fodder person used to be a lot. Like Heath Slater, a little skinnier, little less
like a James Ellsworth.
Yeah, like a James Helmsworth, like a little less intimidating.
Let's talk a little bit here about the end of the match and the weird sort of dual wielding of feuds that Bray Wyatt is pulling off, where he's sort of calling out Balor while saying, "I still got some unfinished business for Randy Orton, but I got my eye on you there, Finn Balor. Demon versus crazy guy. I'm the most fucked up guy here, just so you know."
Yep.
Thoughts on that, Ray, and then Brittany.
Okay, so I'm excited. I think a Wyatt Balor feud. And if you do it for a couple months, that'll be great. I'm all about it.
I was surprised with the pop he got.
Oh, yeah.
Bray Wyatt?
Yeah.
So Bray Wyatt is insanely over. We just don't think he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So a lot of this, not watching SmackDown as much before.
Well, it's not even like a not watching SmackDown thing. Like, I've never thought his character was anything more than the mid card because it's the problem we ran into with WrestleMania. He had easily the worst match, right? And you're trying to explain to your casual friends that this guy is a Southern cultist leader who has his dead sister Abigail, who is, filled with magic power. It's really confusing, right? Yeah. But he's a good wrestler. He comes from a wrestling family.
Yep.
And dude works hard. So it's like he got the push that he had arguably deserved. And I was doing a lot of, I don't often go to, Squared Circle or any of those sites except after the giant pay-per-views like WrestleMania. And I'm looking at all this shit and whatnot. And people were legit upset because Bray Wyatt was getting the push that he deserved, and then it all just kind of died.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised by that at all. And honestly, I don't care. I don't find Bray Wyatt to be an interesting character. And I kind of hate the, there was a episode a while back where he started singing the whole, he's got the whole world in his hands song again.
Yeah.
God damn it, I nearly turned off the TV. I fucking hate that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am happy for him to get an individual push. I'd want him separate from the family. Yeah,
like Eric Rowan's back, but he's kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Yep. I did find it a little weird, like you said, Kyle, with the whole juggling feuds.
Yeah.
I would have rather him hold off on mentioning Balor for a couple weeks until after Payback, because it just kind of watered it down a little bit.
It is a little weird, right? Especially in wrestling, which is known for its ability to just drop an angle on a dime and act like it wasn't even weird at all. Yeah. That they made such a point to have plot continuity for that story, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they're just I'm like this now. Yes, if you watch Raw or whatever from 6 months ago and then dropped into WrestleMania, you'd be like, why are Cesaro and Sheamus teammates or whatever, right? But
because of Mick Foley.
But wrestling, it's just now they're fucking teammates and we kind of like that guy, right?
Wrestling.
But in this one case, it was a little weird. So let's. I kind of want to go on to. Well, actually, did you have a point about that? It looked like you kind of did. Otherwise, we could talk about the ladies.
So one of the things that we had I think you had called out as I think it might have been Ray, they should have waited for that. So one of the things that I'm really interested in seeing is what happens this next week, because there were a couple key superstars that they left out, particularly John Cena.
Yep.
We have no idea which roster he's on. There was a couple others, I forget what they are at the moment.
Jericho.
Jericho, right.
Well, they implied Jericho was going to SmackDown. That's what Owen said. Owen said he took his tail and ran to SmackDown, so who knows?
Well, and who knows what's going to happen with the U.S. title, right? Because they said the U.S. title is staying on SmackDown, so if Jericho wins it, Jericho's on SmackDown. But if Owen wins it, Owens is on SmackDown. So there's still a chance that Owens may go to Raw. Yeah. So it kind of, like, this whole situation, realistically what's going to happen, right? Like,
I think
I don't know. I keep saying, like, oh, yeah, this is totally going to happen. And they've continued to surprise me. So
the shakeup, in a way, there might be some writer or two, speculation on my part, that's just loving sticking it to the fucking people who try to predict everything. Because this is just, like, there's so many cold stops to a lot of stuff. All of the theories
went out the window.
All the theories go out the window, and you just have to deal with surprises, which I thought was great.
That's the part of wrestling I like.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. I mean, everything we've said up to this point, with the exception of, like, man, it would have been nice if they had waited for this thing. It's still all great. Right?
Yeah. So the ladies.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. The ladies on Raw specifically is what I mean by that.
Yeah, so I was a little worried coming out of WrestleMania because the number of feuds that you could potentially do was very limited. It's like, okay, we're going to get Nia and Bayley, I guess, but we've already had Sasha Charlotte, so what's going to happen there? But they start out this segment, and, I mean, Kyle and I are both in agreement. We seriously thought Sasha was going to turn heel here because she did the whole, here's my best friend, just Bayley. And I'm like, oh, fuck, Bayley's going to get her ass beat.
Yeah, I felt she was walking right into a bank statement.
Right, I'm like, oh, shit, here's what's happening. And she's got, like, the Guerrero trunks on from WrestleMania last year. I'm like, oh, shit, it's going to be a good episode. What's up? Alexa. Huh. And, like, I'm excited to see Alexa Bliss. I feel like she's worked hard enough. She deserves to be on Raw. Like, there's more emotion in her face than the entire SmackDown women's roster from last week. So, with Alexa being there, it was like, oh, apparently they're holding off on the Sasha heel turn.
Which is good.
I think it's good. Like, save that. You know she's solid as that.
You're going to need it at some point. So
slow roll that thing.
Yeah.
Slow. Which I'm like, okay, cool. We have a strong heel. And it wasn't that Charlotte losing clean to Nia.
Nia shows up.
Right, Nia shows up. Yeah. She wins clean against Charlotte, which I think is great because they're giving Nia the push that she needs.
Yeah. It's also like Charlotte leaving. Charlotte leaves the show and puts over somebody.
Yeah, but they didn't. It wasn't ever advertised that way. No, we saw Charlotte lose clean, and then the next night we saw her on SmackDown.
Right. Like, so I had guessed that there was a chance Charlotte was going to SmackDown once Alexa Bliss showed up. Because Alexa Bliss is a very, very good heel, and so is Charlotte. So with SmackDown losing that awesome heel, because it's like you've got Natalya, you had Mickie James, like they're not the strongest of heels.
Right.
So there was really this like vacancy in the women's roster on SmackDown. So Charlotte fills that easily.
And Mickie James actually came back.
She's on Raw too. Yeah, she came back face. Well, she aligned herself with Alexa Bliss first, and then went face.
Right. Yeah, it just had a bit of more of a face vibe to it.
Right.
So maybe it's not defined, but I could see her going either way.
Yeah.
And honestly, Bayley kind of needs the help.
But then Dana Brooke is still there. She's face. Emma's heel. So there's this nice deviation of like directives on the Raw women's. I was liking the Raw women's roster, and I feel like it got the variety it needed to stay fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree. I think they both did. I think they were in a weird. They were in this weird limbo where it's like you have like 4 of the best women wrestlers in one show. And, like, kind of a weird mix match of different women on this show. Mix them up a little bit, and you got awesome... Both shows can now stand on their own.
And they didn't really make a lot of changes to SmackDown. They made 2 additions.
Yeah.
After losing Mickie James and Alexa Bliss, they added Tamina, which I want to talk about that in a second, and Charlotte. Yeah. So really all they did was swap those 2. Everyone else is the same. And all of a sudden the roster feels extremely fresh, right? Yeah. But I'm excited for Naomi Charlotte. Like, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So how about Shane with the swerve, right?
So even before that swerve...
Where he's like, we got, you know, her father's a Hall of Famer. She's got wrestling in her blood. And everyone in the audience is, woo! Woo! And then Tamina gets announced the same way that, like, Rey Mysterio at, like, the Royal Rumble that Bryan wasn't in got announced, where everyone's like, oh, we expected someone different.
That was pretty great.
That was awesome. I liked it.
Also, like, before that, because I remember at one point we had talked, and I don't remember if it was you or Ray, but one of you said, oh, they should just move the women to like one show completely.
Yeah, put the cruiserweights on one show, put the women on the other.
Yeah. I was thinking it'd be funny if when Shane specifically said all the women get out here before you then saw it was sequential.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought he's gonna literally make them all come out as one with no entrance and then be like old Vince style, you're fired.
Yeah.
Like, I just sent you all to Raw. And I was like, well, that wouldn't fit his character at all. But for like a split second, it just kind of made me chuckle to myself. Like that would be pretty funny. What are you gonna do with the women? Send them all to Raw. But that was the Tamina swerve was awesome, and then Charlotte being there is great.
Yep. I'm pretty excited for both divisions. So,
other than the part that I'm worried about having to watch both shows all the time.
Yeah.
No, fuck it. I'm watching SmackDown.
I'm watching SmackDown now. There's a lot to talk about. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we? Cruiserweights.
So cruiserweights. I put this in the notes because I thought it was interesting that they're making TJP go heel. Or at least that's the implied action, right?
Good for him.
Yeah, no, it's good because whenever I saw him on the Indies, he was always heel.
Yes.
So when I saw him on the Cruiserweight Championship show, he was face, and I'm like, that's interesting. And I didn't necessarily connect with him as much, which is why him winning was such a huge surprise.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I know he's good as a heel, and it's honestly like people who dab should be heels anyway. So
that's what I thought.
Yeah. Like, what an idiot.
Yeah. Idiot.
But,
how much does Apollo Crews weigh?
A lot.
Oh, okay. He's not. I feel bad. Like, poor Apollo Crews. He's like 5 pounds too heavy.
Right. So it's funny because, like, Neville looks like he's fucking jacked, right?
Yes.
And then you're like, how can this guy be a cruiserweight? But if you probably put him next to Apollo Crews, he'd look tiny.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's like I think Apollo Crews has more muscle in his left pec than Neville does in his whole body.
All right.
That's at least what I would say.
I'm excited for him that he's kind of getting a relaunch.
Yeah,
hopefully he
it's
gets
good.
an appropriate push to coincide with
I mean, TJP doesn't have any charisma. It's kind of why he was that one champion on Southpaw Regional Wrestling.
Yeah.
The guy that had zero charisma.
Yeah.
I mean, as we've said before, it's just easier to be heel.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we got Apollo Crews here, who I'm also happy is kind of getting a relaunch too.
Yeah, no, that's good because that guy works hard, right?
Yeah.
He looks awesome. He just needs more mic time.
Yeah.
And he needs direction. Like, he just needs, like, right now he's just happy to be there, really ready to work hard. And that's great, but he just needs a little depth. Give me a little depth.
So how do you guys feel about the Drifter?
Drifter's gonna drift. Oh man, I don't really care. I like.
You just wanted to make the joke. That's
I don't care. I mean, Drifter. When we saw him in NXT Seattle, it was pretty fucking funny.
Yes.
So if they give him enough like rope to kind of like do his own thing, great. If he's what they did with him at NXT, I'm not gonna be interested.
Did he make the Hulu cut?
He did because I saw him.
I remember hearing about it for like a split second.
He was in the background for the women's match for Charlotte's match.
It was the 4-way tag match.
Oh, that's right.
With the Hardys because obviously
that's
no one's
right.
paying attention.
That's where it was.
And then Michael Cole's like, "Oh look, and there's the Drifter," and then he walks away.
Yes.
And I'm like.
And I remember hearing the name and then being surprised, and then I was
then he's gone
with a bottle for my daughter, and I was like, okay, the Drifter was here, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think it's like this could be good if they actually like hail him as a Drifter, whereas like instead of a guy that just shows up and plays shitty songs on a guitar.
Yeah.
Like if he spends the next like 3 months just showing up in the middle of random segments and they go, "Oh, there's the Drifter."
Yeah.
It's like that could actually be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Or he shows up and he fucking guitar shots somebody and pieces out.
Right.
Like that's cool. It. No matches. Like he gets some kind of deal with Braun Strowman and they alternate which way they fucking beat the shit out of Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can we actually just skip to that and then talk about the Dean thing?
Hell
We're already talking about Nia.
I don't really want to talk about Dean anyway. I can't believe I'm saying this.
The best
I want to talk about Roman.
Like 3 repeated attempts and just the love and reverence of the crowd with each decimation of Roman Reigns is like so they know in a way like I could say they're maybe kind of giving both groups what they want. Because Roman eventually is going to win because Roman wins. He's the new Cena, right? Yeah. And they're building that underdog story that half of us don't care about. but the other half loved that shit. The big dog's gonna come back, lick his wounds, you believe that. But in the meantime, the people who hate him, the fucking normal people, are excited seeing him get his ass beat. That's my view on that.
Or
am I giving him too much credit?
No, you can't share.
I need to share with
as long as it's not more marketing data that's going to make me sad. But
no.
Okay.
No. This is just
why Roman will never leave my life. Yeah,
he's done with
No. It's all good. You're never going to get rid of Roman. That's the point. But no. I'm at the office, and I'm listening to Monday Night Raw because I'm working. I can't really focus on Raw, and I need to watch a show. So I'm listening to Roman Reigns give have this interview, and like I'm doing my work, and all of a sudden I hear Raw, and I just hear the crowd elated, and then boom, 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 ooh, and then quiet. Yes. I'm like, what the fuck just happened to Roman? And all I hear is Raw, and then like boom, 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 the crowd's going nuts. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing to him? And then quiet. And then all of a sudden, I'm not done with you yet. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And
they knock over like 3 trays of takeout too when he threw them over the table.
Oh yeah, like the conveniently placed takeout containers on the table.
It was
conspicuously placed tables in the back.
So he gets one sentence in that interview where he says typical Roman shit.
My yard.
And then he gets attacked, and that's awesome. And then they make him go away. Then in the stretcher, he gets attacked, and he fucking throws the stretcher off the loading dock.
I have to ask, like, I almost don't want to know, but I do want to know. It's like a magic trick. Like,
he wasn't on the stretcher.
Okay.
I think
if you watch it back in slow motion, dude, it's pre-recorded.
Okay.
Because
I was like, oh my god, it was amazing. It was the best.
I mean, like, the first segment could have probably been live, but the way that he wheels it, again, like the whole theater thing, the way the camera is positioned when he wheels the stretcher off, it's directly behind him, so you can't actually see if there's a body on the stretcher at all. But there's a brief frame, if you pause it, I like that I've meticulously broken this down.
You're denying yourself so much joy by doing
this.
No, I mean, like, when it happened, I was so happy, right? I'm like, oh my god, he's dead. So then I watched it back to make sure he wasn't dead, and I'm like, okay, no.
I feel like saying, okay, Ray, what do you think?
Yeah.
You've lost Brittany here. Yeah.
But it's like the stretcher hits the ground, and then it flops over, so that when the camera pulls away, you don't see it, and it just looks like he landed clear on his face.
So the best part is, clearly, we think that we're done with that. So then when they show him being put in the ambulance, and you're like, oh man, this is crazy. And then he goes, I'm not done with you yet. And then he comes in there and throws the EMTs out of the thing and closes the door. And you're like, wait a second, why they close it? Like, I thought it'd be that lame thing where like they close the door behind him and you see it shake almost like they're doing it in there or something. Yeah. Nope, he closes the door and then you're like, what the fuck? And then you're like, oh my god, wait, this guy is a strong man.
Yeah.
And then, damn.
Right, and I'm running through my head on the roster of like, who else could possibly do that? Like, maybe Mark Henry?
Mark Henry
10 years ago. Yeah. 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago, yes.
But it's like, that is how you make a big, strong guy look strong. You have him flip a fucking car. Yeah. Like, I don't remember that happening. That's going to be one of those things that continue to play in WWE packages for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was good.
Yeah. That was a moment.
Yeah. I don't, so, I mean, this like a 15-minute speculation segment here. I don't want to see Braun lose to Roman if they have a match, but I don't see how Roman ever loses given how WWE books.
Yeah, he's
right. But I mean,
the
like,
only
he already
person
lost
that
to him
Strowman
once.
has lost to is Roman.
Yes.
So he's going to continue to lose again.
All right. Well, that's a bummer. So let's run through the quick. Then they had the announced on WWE.com.
Apollo Crews, Colleen Style, Kurt Hawkins.
Yeah, they're all here. Saxton switches sides. Let's just seamlessly go into SmackDown.
No, I'm actually upset that Byron left.
He had a great rapport with Graves insofar as getting shit on by Graves all the time.
Yeah,
correct. So as long as Otunga is fine with being like Corey Graves' personal like shitbag, I am okay with this.
Oh wait, yeah, that's right. My Corey Graves moment of the night was when he's like, what the hell with Dean Ambrose? He confused one of the best superstars in our generation with John Cena. And it just made me laugh. So good.
So good.
I don't actually, so I didn't know about Mauro. What's the deal there?
So apparently, Ray, you go.
No. what we know for sure is Mauro is no longer part of the announced team. We don't know if he's been let go from WWE. We don't know what is going on, why. There's a lot of rumors regarding JBL and potentially, like, basically just messing with him, bullying him over some potential depression issues that he has.
Yeah, so I'm going to get a little, like, after-school special here. But I really like that Ranallo is so open about his, like, the whole mental illness, depression thing. I think that's really, really great. But I think that as a result, you forget about kind of where we are as a society and where wrestling used to be.
Yeah.
So knowing that there's other people in, like, Justin Roberts just released his book, right? And he talks about JBL bullying him a lot. So there's this whole mentality of, like, well, you're a man and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to push you to do that. And then you've got this new mentality of, like, no, people aren't necessarily all, willing to take shit. And sometimes they can't. Sometimes there's things that are wrong. Yep. So it's like, I'm kind of... If it's legitimately JBL bullying him, I'm legitimately sad because I feel like that's not necessarily like, oh, Ranallo couldn't take it. It's more of a, hey, this isn't the company being supportive of someone who's trying to take care of themselves.
I mean, look at Resurrection and Jake the Snake.
Right, like, exactly.
He did all that shit to himself and would refuse to seek help because you don't ask for help.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Like
that's what a bro does.
Like fucking DDP has taught us. Yes. Positive.
Man. Yep. So that's kind of
now we can roll into SmackDown.
Yeah,
like I'll pull off the after school special part of it.
Maybe there's a chance they just put him on Superstars. I don't know.
Is Superstars even still a thing?
Or main event, whatever. I mean, I remember seeing a filming of it, but what is 205 Live?
It's done right after SmackDown.
So it's a SmackDown
on the network. Well, yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. I meant like announce-wise. Like I'm just trying to think of ways where they could put him on a show that doesn't have JBL.
It was Ranallo and Byron. No, Corey Graves. I think.
Yeah. So the open to SmackDown, Kevin Owens comes out as corporate KO. I mean, not by name, but like cleaned himself up. He got the suit, wearing the blue tie, total company man.
Fuck yeah.
And then has that moment where he just says, "It's the new KO show," and they just hold on his face while he's just like fucking filling that whole damn screen with his anger.
I love the Face of America thing too. Like,
man.
So now I have to watch SmackDown because two of the greatest wrestlers, KO, Charlotte, and AJ Styles.
And Nakamura.
Are
and Sami Zayn.
And Sami Zayn.
SmackDown is basically everyone that was cool in the indies plus the greatest woman wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
Done. Like, all right.
Yeah,
I'm watching on Tuesdays.
That's what this shakeup did. Is like I'm done with fucking Raw. Like I get a whole hour back in my week now.
Yeah,
so we have a note here, interestingly, that all right, sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
That's fine.
No, it was just, I saw the AJ thing, and I originally thought he was being pushed as a face, but then also thought he was still walking around slightly in his heel way, so I was a little confused by that.
They do slow burns now. They don't do automatic switches. Like he's still very much he's the face that runs the place.
Right. Would like to be announced as a very heel introduction.
Right, and SmackDown Live is the house that AJ Styles built, so there's a bit of like overconfidence there that comes with heels naturally, but I think it's one of those, seeing as he ended up winning the main event match, Sami Zayn still loses, even if it's SmackDown.
Yep.
Right.
Seeing as he's won the match and he's now feuding with potentially, air quotes, Kevin Owens, because now it's the number one contender based on what happens at Payback.
Yep.
So now it's like you're already focused on after the next pay-per-view. Like they've got me excited about the next two pay-per-views, which is I think what they wanted the whole time.
Yep. Also, the video that they did for AJ was a very face video, like because you see it in contrast with Baron Corbin's, and it was like totally different. We already talked about the women's division.
Talked about the women,
yeah.
English.
One last point on the women though. I want to interject.
Sure.
I still worry that Charlotte won't have enough competition.
I think she will.
We did lose. We lost Nikki. We lost Alicia Fox. We lost Eva Marie. But I think that really just took out some of the lesser.
It's the last generation. It's the divas.
Yeah, they took out the divas.
Hopefully, to be a platform for Becky Lynch to sort of return.
That would be the hope, right?
Yeah.
That Becky Lynch is going to have a much bigger role. I mean, she was the first SmackDown Women's title holder, so she already has a big role. But I think having Charlotte on that show is going to push Becky Lynch to be a better wrestler.
So yeah, you mentioned Aiden.
Aiden English. I thought that was super weird because there was no mention of Simon Gotch whatsoever.
Yeah.
He just kind of vanished.
It kind of like took me by surprise.
And also
I like that he went so we went back to the old NXT gimmick of like him being a theater guy.
Yeah.
Because I think he's like a trained opera singer or something. But yeah, it's like that's amazing. And for him to be feuding with Ty Dillinger, who has the greatest entrance, right? Like the just excitement in his face. And on top of that, all of his movements in the ring are very, very heelish, but they're done in the most face way possible.
Yeah.
I think just for a guy whose like gimmick is that he's hails himself as a perfect 10 but is a solid 6, I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nakamura is taller than Dolph Ziggler. I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah. Also, when I want to point out that Nakamura, first of all, had his...
He's a giant.
He's very tall. He's very lanky. He also, like, he still had his mouthpiece in, and he barely said anything. But the way he moves, the way he reacts, the facial expressions, he doesn't have to do much.
That man has more charisma in his pinky finger than Dolph Ziggler has at all.
Yeah. And I just kind of think that, like, Nakamura really proves that you don't have to do a lot to you just have to, like, have that fucking belief. And Nakamura, like, fully believes that he is Freddie Mercury meets Michael Jackson.
He's oozing Japanese machismo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is like stronger. It's like wasabi version.
Ooh.
So New Day did their job and they got the Revival over in Raw. Conveniently, Kofi Kingston's ankle was busted by the Revival. Now it all kind of makes sense why they were hosting WrestleMania, because Kofi Kingston's actually going in for surgery. He'll be out, quote, a number of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's sort of why they said, like, New Day coming soon.
Yep.
Yeah, as opposed to here. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Which I think is good, because they might want to give Xavier Woods a little time away from the screen, just given recent events and everything. And
what are the recent events? Remember, I'm casual.
Oh, right. He was in a lewd tape with Paige and Brad Maddox.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Don't look it up, because that's bad. But
it was not.
Wait, what about Del Rio?
This is like Brad Maddox was with the company still.
Yeah, so a long time ago. All right, cool.
So this happened apparently when she was NXT Women's Champion.
Okay.
Yeah, it was way.
Wow. Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. Released without their permission. We don't need to get into it.
Yes. Don't watch it. Don't watch it because someone shit leaked. I'm back on my after school special thing. Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
New Day though gonna be on SmackDown. That's good for the tag team situation.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yep.
AJ, Sammy, Corbin, thoughts?
Fucking AJ, man. God damn. That kid's so fucking awesome. Everybody look good here.
I think that they're still keeping the Sammy versus KO thing in their pocket.
Oh yeah.
I think it's good. Like AJ and KO could ride that for months.
As far as main roster goes, on either show for KO versus Sammy, the most we've ever really seen is them talking about it a shitload and then the moment in the Rumble.
Right.
But they haven't actually had a fully built out storyline match. They had one time where Sammy just lost clean and it was kind of like weird.
They had NXT.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about the main roster stuff. NXT, roster. We know. They could totally bring that back and it's just there.
Yeah, it's like Sasha going heel, right? It's just one of those things that they're saving
for basically SummerSlam, we might see both of those things. Which would be pretty rad.
What they need to keep doing is keep putting them in tag team matches where they each have their individual feuds with other people. And then when you see them go into the ring together, they keep doing this. When they're both in the ring, they just start punching each other as hard and vigorously as they can.
It's so good.
Yeah, and it's like oh my god, it's happening. And it's just like, yeah.
All
right, just keep doing that.
So I guess the biggest unknown with all this is there are some wrestlers that aren't mentioned, right?
Yeah, so Cena wasn't mentioned.
And Lesnar obviously wasn't going to get traded.
No, Lesnar, is going to be on Raw, right?
Going to be gone till something in June.
Also, the thing I like about Kevin Owens being on SmackDown is now that Kevin Owens, hoping that he stays on SmackDown, he could go for the actual real title.
Yes.
Yeah. Not that Universal shit. He could go for the legit
WWE title.
Yes. So I think that's good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, final thoughts, Ray, before I read the script studiously?
Yeah. I think this was a great week. It was awesome. I was all about it. I don't know what's going to keep me watching Raw, but that's okay. Like, there's a lot of good mid-card in there, but I'm so sold on SmackDown right now. Like, fuck me. That's a lot of good people on one show right now.
Maybe they're just saying all the casuals are going to watch Raw and all the hardcore fans are going to watch SmackDown and just accepting of that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would listen to hear or see like what to check out on Raw and at best do Hulu cuts like I've been doing anyway.
Yeah.
But like the big things for me on Raw are pretty much seeing how Rollins handles this full face run, the Hardys as long as they go, seeing what's up with Balor, and finally just Kurt Angle stuff.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much that.
Kurt friggin' Angle.
And that, that'll wrap it up for this week, actually, I think. So if you like the podcast, you can find us on Twitter at OnTheHeelsWP and on Facebook.com/OnTheHeelsWP. You can find our podcast through all the services, iTunes, SoundCloud, and the YouTubes.
Thank you for listening to On the Heels Wrestling Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. 5 stars on iTunes. Tune in next week where we will interview, for real, local wrestler Eddie Van Glam.
Friend of the podcast.
Yeah. Yes. And new to the podcast, Ronald McFondle. And we're gonna discuss the recently released documentary, Body Slam, Revenge of the Banana. Watch it now. I'll have links on Amazon and iTunes. Fucking awesome movie. You guys need to watch it.
Like, that podcast is going to be all spoilers, right? So definitely make sure you watch it ahead of time. And it's a good movie. Like, support the local wrestlers. See what's going on in the Seattle wrestling scene with all of the legal bullshit. Watch a movie with our friends. Except the banana is not our friend.
Nope.
He's a very bad person. Yep. Anyway, after all of that, we'll ask ourselves the eternal question. Do you think Braun was waiting for Roman at the hospital?
I hope that is the new gimmick of, like, whenever Roman feels safe, Braun just yells at him and attacks him.
Like, I'm not done with you yet.
Just comes in, right? Like, just a little sketch comedy thing. Like, Roman is Kenny from South Park, and I've never been more okay with it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Randomly, at any moment, he will get attacked by Braun. Like, I actually want a shirt that says, "Oh my God, it's Braun." Yeah.
I'm not done with you yet.
I'm not done with you yet. Oh my God.
Just back out.
On the Heels Wrestling Podcast. I'm not finished with you!